single day. I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am Ginger Wolf, and this is Stripped Finance. I am a future entertainer and stripper, not a financial consultant. So any and all information received from this channel is meant only for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, take it up with your financial consultant. Now with that out of the way, let's enjoy today's video. Bye!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Stripped Finance. Today's going to be a quickie because I can be real dumb sometimes and I forgot to hook up my camera. So, let's hurry up. Today we're going to be doing a video on capitalism because it's important, okay? It's real important. I had some dude literally ask me, what is capitalism? And the man is older than me. Well, I'm just sitting here like, how did you get as old as you are and not know what capitalism is? Like, I'm a little confluffled, to be perfectly honest. But today's article is done by the Investopedia team, and it was reviewed by Margarita Cheng. I'm not messing with y'all. I almost said a big baddie word, and we all know how YouTube thinks about that. So, it was reviewed by Margarita Cheng and fact-checked by Pete Rathburn. That sounds like a pretty vengeful name there, bub. What is capitalism? Capitalism is an economic system in which private individuals or businesses own capital goods. At the same time, business owners, capitalists, employ workers, labor, who only receive wages. Labor does not own the means of production, but only uses them on behalf of the owners of capital. The production of goods and services under capitalism is based on the supply and demand in the general market, known as a market economy, rather than the central planning known as a planned economy or command economy. The purest form of capitalism is free market or laissez-faire capitalism. Here, private individuals are unrestrained. They may determine where to invest, what to produce or sell, and at which prices to exchange goods and services. The laissez-faire marketplace operates without checks or controls. Today, most countries practice a mixed capitalist system that includes some degree of government regulation of business and ownership of select industries. Scroll on down. Understanding capitalism. Functionally, capitalism is one system of economic production and resource distribution. Instead of planning economic decisions through centralized political methods, I really wish they would stop popping in ads. Instead of planning economic decisions through centralized political methods, as with socialism or feudalism, economic planning under capitalism occurs via decentralized, competitive, and voluntary decisions. Capitalism is essentially an economic system whereby the means of production, i.e. factories, tools, machines, raw materials, etc., are organized by one or more business owners, capitalists. Capitalists then hire workers to operate the means of production in return for wages. Workers, however, do not have any claim on the means of production, nor on the profits generated from their labor. These belong to the capitalists. As such, private property rights are fundamental to capitalism. Most modern concepts of private property stem from John Locke's theory of homesteading, in which human beings can claim ownership through mixing their labor with unclaimed resources. Once owned, The only legitimate means of transferring property are through voluntary exchange, gifts, inheritance, or re-homesteading of an abandoned property. Private properties promotes efficiency by giving the owner of resources an incentive to maximize the value of their property. So the more valuable the resource is, the more trading power it provides the owner. In a capitalist system, the person who owns the property is entitled to any value associated with that property. Why private property rights matter to capitalism. For individuals or businesses to deploy their capital goods confidently, a system must exist that protects their legal right to own or transfer private property. A capitalist society will rely on the use of contracts, fair dealing, and tort law to facilitate and enforce these private property rights. When property is not privately owned but shared by the public, a problem known as the tragedy of the commons can emerge. With a common pool resource which all people can use, and none can limit access to, all individuals have an incentive to extract as much use value as they can and no incentive to conserve or reinvest in the resource. Privatizing the resource is one possible solution to this problem, along with various voluntary or involuntary collective action approaches. Capitalism and the profit motive. Profits are closely associated with the concept of private property. By definition, an individual only enters into a voluntary exchange of private property when they believe the exchange benefits them or some psychic or material way. In such trades, each party gains extra subjective value or profit from the transaction. The profit motive, or the desire to earn profits from business activity, is the driving force of capitalism. It creates a competitive environment where businesses can compete to be the low-cost producer of a certain good in order to gain market share. If it is more profitable to produce a different type of good, then a business is incentivized to switch. Voluntary trade is another related mechanism that drives activity in a capitalist system. The owners of resources compete with one another over consumers, who in turn compete with other consumers over goods and services. All of this activity is built into the price system, which balances supply and demand to coordinate the distribution of resources. A capitalist earns the highest profit by using capital goods, an example, machinery, tools, etc., most efficiently while producing the highest value good or service. In this system, information about what is the highest valued is transmitted through those prices at which another individual voluntarily purchases the capitalist's good or service. Profits are an indication that less valuable inputs have been transformed into more valuable outputs. By contrast, the capitalist suffers losses when the capital resources are not used efficiently and instead create less valuable outputs. We can do a video on the history of it later. Scroll! Pros and cons of capitalism. Before we get into the last couple of little smidgens here, today's video is done by little darlings, and the wording is perfectly placed. This one happens to be in Vegas, so you can see the stratosphere right there, or kinda, you can see it right there. Beep beep. Anywhoosy. If you've never been, it's actually pretty great. It's just off the strip, and all of the ladies are real nice, okay? Even if you're a lady. Because I walked in and I still got to dance, and it was fabulous. So, the pros and cons of capitalism. Industrial capitalism tended to benefit more levels of society rather than just the aristocratic class. Wages increased, helped greatly by the formation of unions. The standard of living also increased with the glut of affordable products being mass-produced. This growth led to the formation of a middle class and began to lift more and more people from lower class to swell its ranks. The economic freedoms of capitalism matured alongside democratic political freedoms, liberal individualism, and the theory of natural rights. This unified maturity is not to say, however, that all capitalist systems are politically free or encourage individual liberty. Economist Milton Friedman, an advocate of capitalism and individual liberty, wrote in Capitalism and Freedom, 1962, that capitalism is a necessary condition for political freedom. It is not a sufficient condition. A dramatic expansion of the financial sector accompanied the rise of the industrial capitalism. Banks had previously served as warehouses for valuables, clearinghouses for long-distance trade, or lenders to nobles and governments. Now they came to serve the needs of everyday commerce and the intermediation. I actually had to slow down and reread that word for a second just to make sure that I didn't mispronounce it. Intermediation of credits for large long-term investment projects. By the 20th century, as stock exchanges became increasingly public and investment vehicles opened up to more individuals, some economists identified a variation in the system, financial capitalism. Capitalism versus socialism. In terms of political economy, capitalism is often contrasted with socialism. The fundamental difference between capitalism and socialism is the ownership and control of the means of production. In a capitalist economy, property and businesses are owned and controlled by individuals. In a socialist economy, the state owns and manages the vital means of production. However, other differences also exist in the form of equity, efficiency, and employment. Alright guys, that's going to be all that I can do for today. If you want a part 2 to this video, leave a comment down below, because there is still a couple of blocks on the table of contents that I wasn't able to get into this one, but this one's getting pretty long. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hi guys, I'm Ginger Wolf, and thank you for making it this far into the video. If you have the time, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Stripped Finance. So, in the meantime, I believe in you. I know you can do it. Just keep on grinding, okay?